Hey guys, this is Mac from Venture Addicts, and I have to say, I'm a little nervous to make this one. Mostly because I'm gonna bring up the topic of money, but I feel like it needs to be done. I feel like far too often, these online personas that we follow on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, they're a little secretive. You see what's on your feed, but you don't see what actually goes into making those things, and you don't see what their lives are actually like. And it creates this environment where we admire these famous people for the things they have and the places that they go, but we have no idea what their lives are actually like. So we're left with this empty feeling inside ourselves because this random ass dude on Instagram has a Ferrari or is traveling in France. So where am I going with this? Well, for us personally, we get to travel quite a bit and we get to make videos while doing it. And we always get asked how. In this video, I want to be a completely open book. As a filmmaker, I'm going to share exactly what we do on this trip you're about to watch to make 3 about us videos for 3 separate clients that total $10,000 in revenue for our company. But I'm gonna start out with a confession. None of us on our team went to film school, so I'll come right out and say it. I know we don't do things perfectly or professionally. I know we do things or use some pieces of equipment that some professional filmmakers would scoff at. But the bottom line is, we're creators, we love business, and we make beautiful visuals that make our clients happy. So you're gonna come with me on a trip from Houston to Philly, then to New York to see exactly behind the scenes of what we do to make our clients happy and charge what we do. And this is all in the hopes to equip the videographers watching with the tools they need to charge what they're worth. You need to realize that it is possible to make $10,000 in revenue in 3 days, all depending on what clients you work with and what service you give them. Okay guys, this is every single thing I'm gonna bring on this trip. This is just to show you that high-end productions can be made from not a ton of equipment. As long as you can do a great job, make it look good for the client, this is what you can do it with. So I'm just gonna name it one by one just so you can have an open book view of what I'm gonna do. So I've got the Manfrotto tripod for main cam, 2 other tripods for light and camera number 2. This guy swivels, you can hook it on the bottom of a camera. It can move around, it's pretty versatile. I got the laptop there for all file storage and dumps from the camera. Remember, always make 2 copies of your files when they come out of the camera. You don't want that catastrophic failure to happen where you lose your files. I got the Mavic 2 just kind of for shits and giggles. Aerials are always good to add for clients, but they're not necessary for this job. I've got the Samsung NX1 for camera 2. You are not seeing the Sony a7 III. That's what I'm shooting on right now. I have the Photo Hatchback 22 liter all-weather low pro bag. I've got the Rode NTG3, which is gonna be my main audio source. In this bag, various chargers, backup, external batteries, cards, filters, and then my backup audio for this trip is gonna be the Rode wireless lav. For my light source, Savage panel light. It's a great light, it's super duper bright, and it's low profile, and so you can fit in the bag. One of our best purchases ever, the Zhiyun Crane 2, in order to get some dynamic shots. I'm sure you'll see that in the video when we're looking at some of the footage, but it is a great addition to add some movement, some stable movement at that. So, but one of the biggest things that I'm not gonna be able to pack is a boom pole for the NTG3. So I'm gonna have to figure something out when I get there, but that's probably the only thing I wasn't able to fit in the bag. I'm gonna try and pack it up now and so you can see just what it looks like when it's all packed up. So. And there you go guys, I have a few clothes here and that's all we need. It's gonna be 4 days. So really just pack super, super light. A one-man crew can make amazing productions happen with very minimal gear. I got a suitcase and a backpack. I don't wanna hear a ton of excuses that you can't travel and make really, really high quality client films. That's this, and yeah, we'll see you on the trip. That's it.
So to save about $200, I bought flights to New Jersey that leave Houston at 9:30 p.m. and get to Jersey at 2 a.m. From there, I'm gonna take an Amtrak to Philadelphia and get there probably about 5 a.m. My plan was to get little pockets of sleep on every single piece of travel that I did. So I'm gonna try to get a couple hours on the plane, land at 2 a.m., take a train ride from New Jersey to Philadelphia, see if I can get an hour sleep there. Hopefully that adds up to enough to make it through tomorrow. So I'm gonna get to Philly about 6 a.m. Shoot starts at about 9:30 a.m. So flight down, landed in New Jersey. It's freaking cold. Gotta ride to the train station and get to Philadelphia. All right, made it to the train station. Leaves in an hour on track 3. Here's my bed for the next hour.
I had to catch a train from Newark to Philly at 3:45 in the morning. Remember, our first client shoot is at 9 a.m. and I still have to figure out my microphone situation. Luckily, my first meeting with a Philly native was my Uber driver. And let's just say, he took my mind off of things.
South Street. South Street is, they got condom stores, and it's just
Condom stores, huh? Thank you so much.
great one.
Yep, take it easy.
All right, I went to Home Depot to get a few things because the one piece of equipment we could not bring is a C-stand to hold the Rode NTG3. So I did a few things with a drill and this bolt, a couple clamps, a gear tie, and I'll show you what I did in a second. And not 100% on it, probably about 85% on it, but you know, it's good enough. Let's see.
$5.77 for this equipment that's gonna hopefully create a makeshift C-stand boom mic stand. On my way to the shoot now. Luckily, Home Depot was at about a 10-minute walk of it. So I'll show you some behind the scenes and see if the hardware works out.
That's our producer, Mark. He asks the interview questions while I run the camera. So first setup is an interview setup with client number 1, A7 III on one tripod, Samsung NX1 on tripod number 2. Got a Zhiyun crane for B-roll, I'll show you some of that. Rode NTG3. And here's my makeshift PVC pipe boom stand. Counterweight. Let's do this. What you're looking at here is a simple setup of our first client video. It's a vet services clinic and we are making a company story video for them. The basic components are 3 to 5 interviews with 2 cameras interlaced with B-roll to tell the viewers an emotion-evoking story about the company while showing dynamic and clean visuals. The final video is going to be 2 to 4 minutes long, will be hosted on their website. Here's what some of the final shots look like to show you what angles to get. And remember, we charged a little over $3,000 for this video, so you know jobs out there are like this. With the first shoot wrapped and in the bag, I made my way to North Philly to check out my Airbnb and do a little bit of filming on my own to explain the makeshift boom pole I made literally minutes before the shoot. And for any of you wondering, this is a room in Philadelphia for $30 total. That's with every single thing.
I wanted to give more of an in-depth of the makeshift boom arm that I built earlier at Home Depot. I am not in any way touting it as a professional way to build a boom arm. It was something that I needed and it was something that worked. Here's everything I bought and here's what I did. Really looking forward to the comments on how unprofessional this is, but hey, it works. Here's everything I bought at Home Depot. I knew I needed some kind of strong arm, so I just went with 3/4 inch PVC. I got 2 pre-cut 2-foot pieces. I got these 2 clamps. I've seen that people use them a lot. I didn't actually necessarily need them, but I knew I was gonna need them in the future, so I just kind of threw them in there. These twist ties were cool, so I wouldn't put them in. I actually did use them as counterbalance, or to secure counterbalance today. For the mic, and then this 3/8 bolt nut and then locking washer I needed because that is what the mount is for the Rode NTG3. So I did have this light stand already, but 0 boom pole to go with it. So the boom, I actually built the part that goes off of this, but I didn't build the tripod part. You can have a holdable boom pole with this, or if you have a tripod or a light stand or something like that. This is kind of what I made it for. I needed some way to secure it to that tripod, so I needed to drill a couple holes. And I don't know if you've ever been to a Home Depot or if your Home Depots do this, but apparently they only saw stuff. They don't drill holes. So I went around begging somebody to let me use a drill to let me drill holes, and finally somebody did. I just went with a 3/8 bit and I drilled 2 holes, and then so one of them I knew the microphone was going to go, so I drilled a hole for this, and then that was done. So basically I just needed this, and I was good enough to mount the microphone onto, and I was halfway there. I had my second piece in this coupler, so they went together pretty well. So you could just imagine them together. And on the other side, I knew I had to drill a bigger hole so it could fit onto that light piece, and so I drilled it up a little bit, and then I drilled this hole so I could tie in some counterbalances. It wasn't the most well-balanced thing. I think I needed more space on this side, and I had plenty of length, so what I would do next time is I'll drill this hole a little bit higher up and then this hole in the same spot, so I had more space to counterbalance. So I just remembered this was kind of shitty to get in. Okay, so once I got this, that was the biggest part. That was the biggest challenge. I needed to figure out a way that I was going to work that part out, but as soon as I got it through, I was able to do this wing nut, and you could see the wing parts go on either side of the PVC pipe, and it kept it relatively stable. I was pretty happy about it. So here's the basic setup of what we were working with today. I had 2 cameras working, but I just have one for this basic example. Here you can see I've got the 3/8 going into the Rode NTG3, your basic XLR wrapping around. Here's the mic stand. It's going through. Wing nuts doing its job, more or less. We have our twist ties doing our counterbalance with my backpack, and our handy dandy little H4N, and also giving 48 volts of phantom power to the NTG3 because it doesn't have an internal battery. But yeah, check this out. Basic setup, and now we are going to shoot into the camera shot to show you kind of what it looks like and how cool the results can be. Here we go. Here it is again, guys, in action. You can see everything, but obviously you're shooting in 4K, so you're gonna crop down like this, boom. And I do all this to show you that when you're in a pinch, when you're in a bind, that it's okay to do things like this. I mean, we have a job, or we did a job today that was a really, really good price for the amount of time we spent on the job. It's a really, really good client. It's really, really good cash flow. By no means do I want to disrespect people that use top-notch equipment every single job, every single day. And not to say that we don't also have really, really good equipment. Sometimes, as long as you can do things that make your clients happy, that allows you to give a good product. That is the essence of business, honestly. It's not buying the fanciest equipment. It's not having the biggest office. It's making clients happy. Maybe that's why I wanted to do all this, but I hope you enjoyed this part of the video. Let's get back to it. Just unloading some videos onto the computer and backing up all the files. After that, I'm literally going to hit that bed for as long as it keeps me.
As I was getting ready to meet our day 2 client, I spent a little time polishing off the questions we were going to ask and making sure my research on the company was complete. One of the most important things about these company explainer videos is pulling genuine and heartfelt information out of them in a way that flows. Knowing the right questions asked is going to be the difference between a boring and bland video and one that wows the client.
There's so many bricks in this city.
I know.
All right, we ready?
Yeah.
Cool. This client is an e-commerce company, and the goal is the same as our client yesterday. Tell the story of why they started it and what makes them incredible. This was an amazing space because of the open concept and all the exposed brick. I used a 2-camera setup, one on a tripod and one on the crane too. We had the Rode NTG feeding into a Zoom H4N Pro. All we had to use was a single key light, and the open windows in the back provided the fill. Notice here we used a rule of thirds framing and off-screen look to the interviewer. This gave a really cinematic and clean look. The pricing on this one is similar to client 1, so the formula is largely the same. Tell an amazing story about a company with clean and professional shots, and it's very possible for a freelancer to make $3,000 and up on these kinds of jobs. Had to put the A7 in the fridge for a bit after so many back-to-back 4K sessions. Have any of you ever had to do this? Shoot number 2 had us exhausted, but we had to catch a train to New York and get to our 3rd and final client. My first time in Philly, though it was short, was full of amazing people and amazing places. Yeah, sure, we took great video, but we also made friends we hopefully stay in touch with for a long time. Travel, for us, is more than just a job. Sometimes it feels like a second lens to look at the world through. So many different perspectives that you never could have seen unless you met that person, saw that place, or had that experience. I hated to say goodbye so soon, but it was really easy to see why so many people proudly call Philly home. I woke up bright and early on day 3 because I needed to grab some breakfast and get from my Airbnb in Jersey City to downtown Manhattan, and honestly, I wanted to get a few drone shots too. New York is a pretty crazy city. This was only my second visit, and I had forgotten how incredibly fast everyone moves. You can't turn your head without seeing somebody in a full suit literally sprinting down the street. Regardless, I was incredibly jealous of how developed public transportation is, coming from a place like Houston where you're basically required to own a car. I made a quick pit stop at WeWork to snack some coffee and go over our notes on our final client. This WeWork membership is really starting to come in handy. I met up with Mark at his hotel in downtown Manhattan, and our client was just a short walk away. When we got there, we quickly realized this was going to be a bit more complicated. These guys are a jewelry e-commerce brand, and their office is 9 floors up in a downtown Manhattan building. Needless to say, space was tight and we had to get creative. Equipment setup is the same as the other 2 clients. 2 camera interview setup, 1 fixed and 1's moving. Our single panel light was supplying the key, and we used the windows as fill lights. The Rode NTG right above the head feeding into our Zoom H4n Pro, and we were set. With less room to play with than client number 2, we opened a window and exposed for outside and used artificial light to compensate inside. With that, we were able to avoid the boring white office space look. We rounded things off with a couple detailed B-roll shots of their jewelry, and it was a wrap. So with the last and final shoot done, Mark packed his stuff and headed straight to the airport for his flight back to Houston. I, on the other hand, wasn't quite done with New York. If you're a creator like us, then you know how huge New York is when it comes to attracting raw talent. I touched base with one creator in particular when booking this trip, and I was pumped to get to meet him. Enter Tyler Babin. This 25-year-old not only produces awe-inspiring visuals for his personal brand, he's also one of the powerhouses behind one of the biggest names in media, Gary Vaynerchuk. Babin now travels the world and orchestrates key moves for VaynerMedia, Empathy Wines, and so much more. He was nice enough to give me a tour of the VaynerMedia office in Hudson Yards to sit down and talk life, travel, and entrepreneurship. For privacy reasons, no audio is recorded, but trust me, this guy is someone to pay attention to. With work and meetings done, I decided to take one last stop at a nearby WeWork to grab coffee, eat, and use that oh-so-sweet fiber internet. Backing up files immediately after shoots is always what we try to do. Those $3,000 videos you just shot mean nothing if files are lost. Taking the train back to my Airbnb, all I could do was be thankful for today. Even though it was tough, I couldn't stop thinking about how lucky my team and I are to get to pursue a dream like this, and how excited I was to get some much needed sleep. With my flight in a couple hours, I had just enough time to grab breakfast at this hole-in-the-wall place I found the day before and see the city one last time from across the Hudson. As I look back on this week, it was absolutely exhausting, with long days of filming, miles of walking, and lugging around 80 pounds of gear through it all. But honestly, this is what it's all about. Getting to do something you're passionate about, while building a business alongside people you love. I wouldn't trade this for the world.
Finally home. See you.